Oh boy, okay, so we actually have some pretty big news that dropped in the world of spoofing versus legit players. Niantic recently won a lawsuit, or at least they settled a big lawsuit with Global++, which of course is the developers of one of the biggest spoofing apps that are currently out there, and it seems like they were awarded about $5 million, which may not seem like too much, but if you think about the scope of these small developers developing these spoofing apps, $5 million could actually be quite a lot of money. Now the reason why I say this is pretty big news is because it could do a lot of damage to the spoofing community, and if you think about everything that's been going on right now with the pandemic, with the spoofing community kind of dying down over the past year with remote raiding and different things like that, this is pretty big stuff for people who want the game to be played legitimately. And I know a lot of people who watch my channel are both spoofers and legit players who have strong opinions against spoofing, so there's definitely a discussion to be had with this news that I would love to jump into. But in any case, yeah, let's roll the intro and dive right into it. How's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Count, here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. Today I'm going to be talking about the lawsuit that Niantic recently won against Global++. I think there's a lot of ramifications that this has towards spoofers and spoofing apps, and I really feel like for those of us who are legit players and have strong opinions against spoofing, you could chalk this up as something of a big win. More recently, it was all about banning spoofers outright. We did see a whole bunch of permanent bans roll out last year, and then of course this year we are starting off with this news that they are just destroying this one particular spoofing company. Now it's pretty straightforward news. Basically, Niantic was in court against the developers of Global++, which of course is a pretty big spoofing app development team. And yeah, they were awarded with 500 million yen, which equals out to about $5 million USD. Now, like I said, in the scheme of a lot of different lawsuits that are similar to this, $5 million is a pretty small settlement. But when it comes to Global++, this is more of a smaller development team with a smaller budget and a smaller source of revenue. So yeah, 5 million is actually going to be a lot more money for them. Now, the reason why I think this has pretty big ramifications for spoofers is the fact that this is going to send a very big message to other spoofing app developers out there. Are they going to go after all of the other spoofing app developers that are currently out there? What are the different jurisdictions and protections that a lot of other spoofing app developers have? We really do not know the full details about everything that's going on, but when it comes to this lawsuit and when it comes to the outcome that this lawsuit brings, it's making it increasingly difficult for spoofers to spoof when it comes to Pokemon Go. Now, before I continue talking about this, I have to preface the fact that I in no way am a supporter of spoofing. I really think that when it comes to Pokemon Go, the game was intended to be enjoyed outside of spoofing. You are supposed to go out and play the game the way it was intended to be, and if you are a spoofer, you are hindering the gameplay the way it was meant to be played, and you are preventing yourself from creating a lot of enjoyable moments. But even though I feel that way, I will not tell you how to play. If you want to risk getting banned and you want to be someone who spoofs, that's really up to you. I'm not going to tell you how you need to play. So yeah, with that all said, I really want to know what everyone thinks about spoofing, because when I look at the communities, like, I have a lot of my ears to the ground when it comes to different spoofing communities and people who used to spoof and people who still spoof. Like, I have a general idea of what it's like to be a spoofer right now in Pokemon Go. A lot of people think that with the introduction of remote raids, there really is no reason to spoof anymore, but there's also a big subset of players who still enjoy the game through spoofing. But of course, if you spoof, you kind of run out of things to do really quickly when it comes to the game, so a lot of players have started to quit the game, or they just outright do not feel like the amount of time and energy and money that it requires to spoof is even worth it, and they try playing the game legitimately. Even when it comes to spoofing spoofing content creators. Of course, one of the biggest content creators, FSU ATL, has been off this platform for such a long time. And then of course we had other spoofing content creators who have stopped spoofing and they tried to start playing the game legitimately. And I do applaud them for doing that. I mean, it's got to be really hard to try to bounce back from going from completely doing nothing but spoofing and then jumping on to legit play. But yeah, it's really interesting to see that the community for spoofing has completely died out in the past couple of years. Like, if you talk to a lot of people who still spoof, they are saying that there's just not a lot of players who will continue to play. Even when I visit big cities and when I visit big towns where spoofers used to do a lot of air support with when it comes to raids, they've just completely died out, and now raids are just filled with nothing but legit players. But irregardless of all of that, I really wonder what the spoofing community is thinking when it comes to this big lawsuit. I really wonder if a lot of spoofers are starting to feel like they're constantly going upstream when it comes to spoofing, because Niantic really hasn't done much to support spoofers. I know a lot of people tend to see certain decisions that Niantic make and they think that Niantic is intentionally supporting spoofers, but that is so far from the case. If you talk to any person from Niantic, if you talk to any Niantic dev or any community manager, they definitely do not support spoofing, and they want to see it eventually completely wiped away from the game. Of course, that's going to be a very tall order. A lot of spoofers have found so many different workarounds for being able to spoof in spite of all of the bans that constantly happen when it comes to spoofing. But yeah, I really don't know what something like this will do for spoofing moving forward, because it really seems like rather than going after players, Niantic is now putting the death knell on all of these spoofing app developers. Of course, even before this, we saw them go after iSpoofer and they sent them a cease and desist letter, and that was enough to get iSpoofer to stop developing their spoofing app. So with all of the other spoofing apps that are currently out there, what is Niantic going to do? We really have to wait and see. I'm really curious to see if more lawsuits are going to start popping up, if Niantic is going to start taking down even more spoofing apps. I just kind of want to see what ends up happening. But yeah, this could be the beginning of the end for spoofing apps as we know it, because if I am a small-time developer who's not making that much money off of my spoofing app, I really wouldn't want to be hit with a $5 million lawsuit, especially if I'm only making like $30,000 to $40,000 a month out of this spoofing app. I mean, even when it came to Global Plus Plus and their spoofing tool, they only had about a couple 100,000 downloads for this app. So even if they were monetizing it, they are probably not making enough to actually survive this sort of lawsuit and be able to continue. Plus, with lawsuits like this, they tend to come with a lot of legal jargon, like they can't continue operations. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty big deal, and I really feel like when it comes to spoofers, their days are numbered when it comes to what app they could use. But yeah, if you are a spoofer, I would love to know your thoughts regarding all of this, and if you are a legit player that is passionate against spoofing, I would love to know your thoughts as well. Just try to be really civil when you give your thoughts. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I know there really wasn't too much that was talked about in this video, but I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts regarding what I think about spoofing as well as what I think about this lawsuit. And again, I'm really curious to see what ramifications this will end up having. But yeah, that's going to be it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, and I'll catch you all later.